Where do I even begin with this game? Whew. You know what? On a night like this, I probably should be drinking beer, but I don't have any beer on me. But I've had a lot of coffee today, and you guys know me. I never sleep. So I think that we should start this live stream off with a bang, if you catch my drift, no pun intended. I never sleep, and I'm not going to sleep tonight. So before we talk about Devin Booker's amazing 58-point game, let me know what you guys are drinking in the chat. I'm joined by friend of the channel, Super Mario Hoops 24. How you doing, man?
Doing pretty good. Got my water right here. But yeah, not too bad. We were talking about just before we started, we're both on break, so
Yes, sir.
always good. More free time to do streams or videos and all that stuff. So that's
and drink energy drinks at 10:30 at night because I'm
that's also
totally not healthy.
That's also a good choice. So, but yeah.
No, I wasn't really planning on sleeping after this. I mean, how could you after what we just witnessed from this amazing game? But real talk, man, thank you for being here. Guys, we're going to be diving into this in just 1 second. We already got 10 people in here. But before we get started, you guys, do me a huge favor. Destroy that like button. Share the stream. Tell people about Suns Geek. And with that being said, let's crack open this Bang energy drink. Bang, if you're watching, please sponsor me. And let's do this. Cheers to Devin freaking Booker. Delicious. And before we talk about Devin Booker's 58-point game, I think he's worthy for his drop that I made him. If I can find it. Here it is.
Devin Booker.
Devin Booker, 58 points on 21 for 35 shooting, 6 made threes, 10 for 15 from the free throw line, which we'll talk about later, 5 assists, 5 rebounds. Amazing effort from Devin Booker. And it was really all, I want to say, really in that third quarter, man. I don't know if Jose Alvarado or somebody said something to him that just ignited him to go off like that, but he absolutely took over in the third quarter. And we probably should have seen it coming because he had 12 in the first quarter. And then maybe he had 20 something by halftime, if I remember correctly. Halftime feels like a lifetime ago because that's how great that second half was. But Devin Booker just doing Devin Booker things out there, absolutely exploded for 58 points. Sort of cooled down late in the fourth quarter when they were kind of double teaming him. And then I mentioned the free throws, the 10 for 15. Probably would have had close to 70, and I'm not even joking, if he would have hit some of those free throws. And I remember Super Mario a few shows ago when you were on. I went on a small tirade about just how great Devin Booker is and how great it has been to watch him night in and night out. I remember that conversation that we had. I was just praising Devin Booker and just reminding fans that he is a superstar in this league. And look, even though I don't think he's in the MVP conversation right now, he is a superstar in this league. He is literally the engine for the Phoenix Suns. He is the heart and soul of the Phoenix Suns team. And I could break down we could watch the highlights and, break down the analysis and everything, but he was just absolutely incredible tonight. So any takeaways from Devin Booker's 58-point performance? Let me repeat that. 58 points. What you got, Super Mario?
I mean, this is kind of just something that he's done for a long time now. I mean, you think from his first 50-point game was actually his 70-point game, and that was 2017. Yep. Now it's 6 seasons later, essentially, and he's more than likely going to have more of these throughout his career. I don't know what the actual numbers are on it, but I know somewhere around like 6th or 7th most 50-point games in an NBA career is around 12 or 11 or 12 or something. And I think this was his 5th 50-point game already. And he's only I think 26 years old. He just turned 26 not too long ago. So I mean, you think about that, like odds are he'll probably end up like in the top 5, top 6 at the very least of all time in that list. It's just something he does, and like for the most part, like a lot of those, obviously, the one that he dropped, the one last time he dropped 50 points against my Bulls when I was on here too. That was the one that resulted in a win. It was the first one, but like this is probably the I mean, the team just dominated that game, so there might have been arguments to be made. They still could have won, even if he dropped like 30 or 20 or something like that. Like this one, it felt like a game like they needed him to go off like that. Like
Absolutely.
if he doesn't go off, like if he has 40 points, they lose. You know, if he has 50 points, they lose. Like they needed all 58 points just to get it done. And that's not to say like the entire team was terrible either, like,
Right.
because I mean, we'll get into that, but I mean, just, like, for Booker as a whole, like, they needed, like, every single one of them. Like, you've seen in the past, like, where he's dropped 50-point games or even 40-point games, and they come up short or they get blown out, like, in years past, like, when the Suns really weren't a great team. But now it's like, as you said, he's kinda the engine they needed. I was kinda talking with my dad about it like the last like I was talking to him about it, I think yesterday. Like, 2 seasons ago when they first got Chris Paul, like Chris Paul was the engine that kind of made the team go. Like if he was there, everything was going right. If he wasn't, things were kind of going downhill. Last season, I think you started to see signs of it with like Booker kind of taking that role like when Paul went out. But now this season so far, like you've seen like it's basically the team runs on Booker. Like if he's not there, like they're gonna struggle to find offensive production. They already sometimes struggle rebounding or defensively or something like that. So they they just needed all of his 58 points. I mean, what did they end up winning by? They won by 4. So I mean, essentially speaking, or theoretically speaking, like if he has 53 or less, they lose. Um, but yeah.
They said D Book has hit his 12,000 career points tonight, trailing only LeBron, Durant, Kobe, Carmelo, and McGrady. And then, unlike the Bulls game, Book set the arena scoring record. Now had the arena
Yeah.
scoring record in 3 arenas, which is absolutely crazy. Because you
I
can see
mean,
on my wall back here, the Suns have had some amazing scorers in their history. Yeah, 58 points, man. What were you gonna say?
not to take away from that down there, but to be fair, isn't the arena like just 2 years old or something like
Yeah,
that
I
now?
know. Yeah. So,
So
what does really the arena mean?
yeah, it's like that one's like kind of like whatever, but it is, it is something. So got to give him credit.
And then just real quick for like I'm a big Suns history guy. You guys know that the Suns all-time leading scorer is Walter Davis. I think it's like
Mhm,
16,000 something. It's amazing. Booker is like right there. What's that? 4,000, maybe a couple hundred more, and he's going to be the
mhm,
Suns' all-time leading scorer. And then someone mentioned it in the comments. Where does Devin Booker rank in all-time Suns players? It's easily top 5. Top
mhm,
10. I've seen lots of debates on this. That's a conversation for another time. But Devin Booker, you mentioned it. He's 26 years old, dude.
mhm,
26 years old. It is scary. And I saw some people on Twitter tonight saying like if Devin Booker can find that second player that's like a for example like a Dame or a CJ or I'm totally running out of examples right now, but you get what I'm talking about.
mhm,
Find that kind of player, like the sky's the limit from there. And Devin Booker's just absolutely incredible. So we had to just talk, we just had to break it down. And a lot of what I saw tonight from Devin Booker, and again, I'm really talking mainly in that third quarter, was just his aggressiveness, man. Driving to the rim, getting those mid-range shots, hitting a couple threes here and there, being aggressive, uh, trying to get fouled and go to the free throw line. Which, by the way, we're gonna have a conversation later about the free throws tonight because the
mhm,
Suns actually got to the free throw line for once, and it was amazing. But Devin Booker just doing Devin Booker things, and again, I mean this as a compliment. It just doesn't surprise me anymore. Like I'm watching Devin Booker and I'm happy and I'm cheering, but I'm just like, I'm not surprised, man. I've been watching this for what? Like how long has he been in the league now? 5, 6 years or whatever, which that's also crazy to think about because it feels like Devin Booker's been in the league for so long. But man, 58 points. This does not happen every night, even though the league Aren't there like multiple players scoring like over 20 a game the past few
Mhm.
years or something like that? It's not every night you see a 58-point performance, especially the way Devin Booker does it, man. And again, I gotta give him all the credit in the world. He is an absolute superstar, and I think we need to play his drop one more time.
Devin Booker.
Man, incredible.
This is I think
Go
this
ahead.
is the second night too that I don't remember who it was. It might have been Embiid when he dropped the 50 points against the night that Booker dropped 50 against the Bulls. It might have been Embiid that had like a crazy game, and then it seemed like Booker like stole the show that night.
Yep.
Like I know we'll get into it later, but I feel like he kind of did that again too tonight. I don't know if you know what I'm referring to exactly, but I'm like
I don't
I'm
know.
with well, I mean, Kemba Walker went off
Oh
tonight
yeah,
for the
yeah, yeah.
Mavericks.
Yep.
I feel like if Booker didn't go crazy, like everyone would be talking about Kemba, but now it's like, like that this
Right.
is the second time. Like it's just like just crazy. And he's done this so many times now that it's like almost something that's ritual, like at least like once a year, maybe even more now. Like he's done it already twice this season. Who
Exactly.
knows how many he'll end up with? Like he
Yeah.
could end with 4 or 5 by the end of the year or something.
Yep. But
Mm,
yeah, and we'll probably talk about it later. Kemba deserved it, and I'm
mhm,
happy for him. That's the
mhm,
Kemba that I remember we had conversations on and everything.
mhm.
Suns probably should have gotten Kemba Walker, by the way. But anyways, so let's actually talk about the rest of the game, shall we? Um, Early in this game, Super Mario Hoops, it looked like it was gonna kind of be a blowout. Now, the first
Mhm,
quarter was super entertaining. And the Suns, in my opinion, actually did a pretty damn good job in the first quarter. There was a lot of up and downs, a lot of back and forth. CJ McCollum was on fire, and Devin Booker was right there answering him. Like I mentioned, I think he had 12 in the first quarter. And then somebody pointed this out that later in the first quarter, the Suns scored like 8 points in a matter of like 7 minutes or something like that, which is no good. That was sort of a reoccurring theme throughout some of the game before Booker took over. Pesky Pelicans defense. Suns rebounding, in my opinion, absolutely sucks. At least it did in that first half. The Suns went ice cold from three. They struggled to score. The Pelicans stepped up their defense. It seemed like they couldn't miss a shot. Zion was Zion throughout most of the game. We're going to talk about him later. Um, and then all of a sudden, man, it was just that Devin Booker takeover and the Josh Okogie effect that
mhm,
really helped the Phoenix Suns get this win. Like I mentioned to you, I need to make a Josh Okogie video immediately. He's been absolutely incredible. We'll look at the stats here in a little bit, but in fact, well, yeah, we'll look at it in a minute. But there's like another stat I want to read about Josh Okogie. We'll talk about that later. But uh, again, man, I've always been a fan of players that just hustle and show effort and actually give a crap and will sacrifice their body. I love guys like that. Like you're a big NBA history guy. I know you remember Bobby
mhm.
Jones. Bobby
Yep.
Jones, my boy Allen Iverson,
Mhm,
Javon Carter. I could go all day. Like guys like that, and we have been seeing it with Josh Okogie. Yes, I know on offense, which again we're going to talk about that later. On offense, he's not great, but defense, each and every single night, you will never have to question him. The dude hustles. I mentioned this to you. I swear to God, there was a couple of plays tonight where I swear he not just out rebounded Zion, but jumped over him to grab the ball, take
mhm.
it down. Played great defense on Zion in a few plays, caused some turnovers here and there and all that. Was there anything in particular that I might have missed that you saw from Josh Okogie before we look at the whole stats and before I read you this Josh Okogie stat? What did you see from him tonight?
I mean, just hustle, just like you said. I mean, he was kind of like the primary guy that was, gliding through the air and making like the hustle plays all throughout. I don't know what stat you're gonna pull up, but I mean, I guess just a stat here is like, I mean, he had 4 offensive rebounds tonight, and throughout the season, only Steven Adams, Clint Capella, and Mitchell Robinson average more per game.
Wow.
Just to give you an idea, like where
That's
he would
better than the
land
one I was gonna read.
and in the ballpark of like offensive rebounding tonight. And it seemed like I'm trying to find like the actual fourth quarter stats of it, but it seemed like almost all, if not all of them, came in the fourth quarter in the last
Right.
like 5 or 6 minutes. Like I know he got 2 on one play and he got 1 on another, so he had at least 3 of them in the fourth quarter. So he was clearly hustling. I know he's had some high scoring games for the Suns so far this year, and tonight he just didn't make any shots, but it seemed like I told you this before we even started. It seemed like he was almost the second best player for them tonight. At least that's how it felt, like maybe you could look more analytically into stuff, but
I
yeah.
think without his energy and effort, I don't know if we win this game, and I'm serious. Really,
Mhm.
I think your stat tops mine, but they showed this on the broadcast and it's on my phone. Coming into this game, his last 10.7 points per game, nearly 6 rebounds, 2.6 assists on 48% shooting. That's
Mhm.
amazing.
Mhm.
Like for Josh Okogie, dude, coming off the bench, that is incredible. That is what the Suns need when we are down so many guys like we are. When, some of our other bench struggles, he's making the most of his opportunity. And look,
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to continue to put up numbers like that throughout the rest of the season, but man, if he can just do that, and kind of like how you brought it up tonight, he had 7 points, he didn't really do much offensively, but if he can just continue to play like this, man, uh, I'm all for it because we're going to need guys like that, especially during the playoffs and everything. He was
Yeah.
absolutely incredible. And Suns fans, especially fans of the channel, probably expect a video soon. I think the Suns have a couple nights off coming up soon, so I'm going to have to probably do it then. But yeah, he's incredible, man.
Yeah, I just think like, I mean, we'll probably get more into the depth of the bench here, like you said, like in a minute or something. But I just feel like the bench needs to be more consistent, like with their production. That's kind of like when the
Facts.
Pelicans started to pull away. Like, is when they put all the bench guys in and they got torched. I'm trying to like tally it up. I think they went 2 for 15 tonight shooting from the field and 1 of 10 from 3. Like that can't happen. Um, I also didn't realize how bad Jock Landale's been shooting from 3 this year, because it felt like he was shooting good in preseason. It seemed like
Yep.
he didn't
And
really
early
miss,
in the season
and
too.
and early in the season too. Yeah, I was gonna say that. And last season I checked, like I think he played like 54 games, and he shot about 1.5 a game, and he shot like 33%. Like it's not bad, but this season I checked, he was like shooting I think 17%, and now it's only gone down because he missed one today. Um, I don't know. I think he just needs to either stop shooting or like I don't know. He just got to maybe chill out a little bit or take the ones that are just high quality. Not saying tonight was like a bad example, but just because there was only one shot, it's like, what are you really gonna put that all on him? But I don't know. Like I didn't really recognize that.
For me, it's been the production of Jock Lindell. We haven't seen what we saw in the preseason. We haven't seen what we
Yeah.
saw early in the season. And that's why I mentioned Josh Okogie. I can forgive the bad offense. At least you're producing out there. You're impacting the game. I haven't seen Jock Lindell like quote impact a game since again earlier in the season, in the preseason. You know what I mean? Now, don't get me
Mhm.
wrong. There are moments where Jock Lindell really thrives. He'll have a nice back tip that will lead to a Suns score or whatever, and nice pick and roll, setting screens and all that. He's good at that stuff. He can rebound the ball at times, although I feel like the whole Suns team sucks at rebounding. But just again, the impact that Jock Lindell isn't having is noticeable. I've been meaning to touch on it in video form, but I've just been too lazy and busy. So, but hopefully Jock Lindell picks up because he is a fan favorite here. He's one of my
Mhm.
favorite players on the team, but he just hasn't been producing. That's it, man.
Yeah.
But you are right. He does need to stop shooting threes. I think he's kind of learned that. Now, there was one three I think he did take tonight. He was wide open, but they're
Yeah.
just they're just not going in, man. That's
Mhm.
and I can forgive him if he takes the wide open threes, but when you're contested, you should not be shooting that. So I don't
Yeah.
know.
I mean, I'm not yeah, like I said, if 1-3 tonight probably doesn't matter too much. I
Yeah,
might have I can't even really recall, like, the actual play because I think at that point, like, I was kinda, like, going back and forth with the Cavs-Mavs game and this game,
right.
so, um,
No, and I'm glad you
but
brought it up. Man.
yeah, I mean, like, just in general, like, because I was checking, I think, stats in the 3rd quarter or something, and I'm like, I just was checking because I know you've mentioned a few times to me, I think in recent streams that his production's been kind of down, and I was just checking his threes, and I'm like, he really actually hasn't been shooting that well, like so far this year from three. But he started off good, so I don't know like what was going on really.
Sophomore slump. That's what I'm going to call it. He'll be back next year or later in the year. We're going to pop up the box score real quick. Maybe we can talk about a little bit of the Pelicans here if you want to. Let me just pull this up so it looks a little neater.
Can we?
Yeah.
Oh,
No, go ahead.
No, my bad. I didn't know. I thought you were gonna pull up the Pelicans right now. Like,
Oh
no,
yeah,
you're
we
good.
can do that. That's what I was going to say. Like
Well,
we can start really wherever.
I was gonna say we could start with the Suns if you want, and then move to the Pelicans or something.
Cool. Let's do that. All right. So obviously the Suns are beaten up right now. Let me just start off with this real quick. I feel like he sort of just I don't even know how much he really played in the second half. Bismack Biyombo. I really just want to point out one play here, and I uploaded this play to Twitter. It was when Jose Alvarado was bitching at the referees and he got distracted and he ran into a Bismack screen and Chris Paul cut to the rim. And I think he like missed the layup and Bismack just came in and flushed it down. I had to talk about that real quick because I said to myself, I was like, why don't we just do that like every time? Just run through Bismack and just have him just throw it down. But Bismack's out there. You know, he's a backup big in this league. He's going to provide you some good minutes out there, get you a few rebounds, but at least he's, you know, we have some size out there with Bismack. Mikal Bridges, you know, coming off of a 27-point game, I think against the Clippers, then a terrible shooting night the other night. 15 points tonight. It's just inconsistency with Mikal Bridges at this point. We all know what he does defensively.
I will give him credit though, because he started off 2 for 9. I think he made 3 of his last 4 shots. So I mean, that was important. So
and again, 15 points. That's like what he averages. You know what I mean? That's just what Mikal Bridges does. But you kind of want to see a little more.
Yeah. 3 of 9 from 3 isn't too bad either. It's like a slightly maybe below what you'd want, but it's not bad.
Yeah. And then, you know, Chris Paul really kind of saved us near the end there. I mean, 18 points, 8 assists, 6 for 11, 5 made 3-pointers out of 7, which is amazing.
I think
and again, man,
that's the big thing there too. The 5 of 7 from 3, because I've told I don't know how many times I think since the start of last season I've told you like it seems like Chris Paul doesn't want to shoot like as many threes, and I don't know if he got like into the bad habit because he was so accustomed for several games in the playoffs of maybe not doing it the year before because of like the shoulder thing like that he suffered against the Lakers. I don't know if he thought like, oh, this is a recipe for success or something. He kept riding with it, but he just wasn't shooting enough threes. Like I would argue that nobody's going to probably recognize it, but this might be his best game of the season too, Chris Paul. Just because like it was his most impactful one in a win at least. I mean, 8 assists, 2 turnovers. That's what you can expect usually out of Chris Paul too. So he shot the ball efficiently, and he was big in the fourth quarter. That's usually what he's been with the Suns. So people aren't going to really talk about it just because, you know, it's like Booker at 58. That's going to be the headline. But you could argue that maybe this is Chris Paul's best game of the season too.
Booker, Josh Okogie, Chris Paul, the 3 best players tonight in that order. And all I was going to say to really bounce off what you were saying, because you put it, you worded it a lot better than I did, was I've seen games like this from Chris Paul that really do go overlooked. Even sometimes I overlook it. I mean, 18 and 8, dude, and then hit some big threes and big shots late in the game. That's all you can ask for Chris Paul, who isn't having the best season. I can forgive what's happened earlier this season and everything, like the bad shooting percentages, not taking threes, not being that CP3 that we all know and love, but like he's quietly done this nights like this, and we've won games. So you summed it up perfectly, man. I thought he was good tonight. And also look at the minutes, 35 minutes, man. That's a lot. Like props to Chris Paul, man.
I mean, normally, like, I guess in this scenario where it's like you're down, what, 3 of your 7 best players because you're without Aiden, you're without Cam Johnson, you're without Payne.
Yep. Jay Crowder.
Jay Crowder, I guess. Someone else was out too. Oh no, well, he's not one of the best 7 players, but Dwayne Washington was also injured.
Yeah.
But I mean, like you're down 3 of your 6 best players today. Like you would expect maybe a Chris Paul maybe start off more aggressive, and that's probably the only thing. Like as a scorer too, I know he's a pass first player, but it's like, I mean, the guy averages like what 16 points a game for his career as well. Like you're getting these shots up as well. You're one of the premier players on the team. I think that's the other thing. But I mean, overall, like it wasn't a bad game, and I would even argue, like I said, it might have been his best game of the season. At least it was his best individual game for a win so far this season.
Let me just make sure, excuse me, that we're not missing anything. Yeah, we were talking about Jock Lundell, Damian Lee, Shamet, your boy Landry Shamet. Sun shot 47% tonight. 15 threes, 36%. Ooh, let me just talk about the free throws real quick. Because I sort of brought this up earlier. What did we shoot tonight? 25 three. I can't talk. 25 free throws, 71%. We only missed 10. And again, the fact that we were actually getting to the line and for the most part getting those calls, the Pelicans were 10 for 13 from the free throw line tonight. That was definitely noticeable. I'm not saying that's going to happen every night. I'm not saying the Suns will win more games if we get to the free throw line, but it does help. That's why they call it free throws. Did you notice anything of that tonight, or you kind of get what I'm saying here?
I mean, not really. I mean, there were probably some moments where I questioned, like, maybe like they were calling some fouls on the Pelicans that I didn't see personally.
Right.
I mean, of course, I'm gonna see that more because like it's a 22 free throw discrepancy like tonight. But I think I can think of there's one time I think Booker drove in and he got I think it was an M1, like he banked it in like a runner on the left side. I think there was like that one, and also um at the end of the game, I think they called Zion for a foul on an Okogie putback, and I don't know. I didn't think he touched him at all. Other than that, I can't think of any off the top of my head that like were bad. But even then, it's like that's still like they're still forcing the action better than the team. If you took away like 4 or 5 free throws, like you're still double that. And even if you say there's some questionable calls, take away like 10 more free throws, you're still getting to the line more than that. Like they're still making that effort more than the Pelicans were tonight.
I just think it's big, man, because and I don't know why this game haunts me so much, but when we played the Rockets, they went to the free throw line like 43 times. I'm not even joking. 43. Just saying. And the Suns have had their battles with the referees, and even tonight there were some questionable calls, like you mentioned. But you know, it is what it is. Any other takeaways in terms of the Suns, like the box score? Because if you want, we can move on to the Pelicans. Because I have some thoughts on them, but I'm sure you got a little more than I do. Any other final thoughts in terms of the Suns?
All I'm gonna say is my boy Landry Shamet did it again. He must have knew I was gonna be here tonight. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like he was the worst player on the court tonight. Simple.
I'm noticing. I guess it's pretty bad when I'm noticing more Landry Shamet like hustle plays than what he actually does, like make shots. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because all I can really say about Shamet tonight was he had a couple opportunities, like a couple bunny plays where he like back tapped the ball or hustled really well, but that's it, man. That's like what do they call it? AAU high school stuff. Like that's.
I feel like his role
you're a professional basketball player.
His role on this team is supposed to be, I mean, I'm not saying he's as good as him, but just like where he fits into the team, he's supposed to have almost like a Luke Kennard role. Right. When you look at like Luke Kennard tonight for the Clip, he had 20 points, right? Like Landry Shamet, like rarely ever hits that moment or can even produce. You can even expect him to have those games. Like Kennard maybe has like a couple of those a month or something like that. Like Landry Shamet, I can't remember the last time he's even scored more than like 15 in a game, honestly.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I've noticed more hustle plays than him actually putting the damn ball in the basket.
Yeah, he's just been he's too inconsistent too. I know people talk about Bridges. I saw some people on the timeline saying like, "Oh, Bridges too up and down," but it's even worse.
This is a warning for all NBA teams. You can beat the Suns 9 times in a row, but you won't beat us the 10th time. That's great. I love a burner account, man. I miss you, man. Shout out to Lindsay. Appreciate you, Lindsay. Thanks for being here. I'm gonna open up that package later and we're gonna react to all that great stuff you sent me.
Danger 369 said, "I don't think Shamet knows his role. I don't think we know Shamet's role."
Does Monty Williams know his role?
I mean, there's no one handing out water cups. I don't think on the bench he could take that spot.
To sum up the game, the Suns are pretty darn good. Even though
That's
I've been
accurate.
very critical of them lately, they are pretty damn good. Okay, especially being down so
Just a
many
little.
guys.
Just
They're
a little.
just sort of good.
Yeah.
Let's talk about another really good team though. Who, you know what? Call me crazy, Suns fans. I actually hope we see in the playoffs, and I hope both squads are fully healthy. Even though it'd be scary to see them in the playoffs, I would love a Suns Pelicans playoff series. By the way, the Pelicans have lost 3 in a row. Crazy. Zion Williamson, oh man, I have some thoughts on him. 30 points, 9 assists, 12 for 16 shooting. When he's healthy, man, he's an all-star. I'm serious. He is incredible. And it's just I think we talked about this last time, man. It just reminds me so much of Charles Barkley, but in his Zion way, you know what I mean? Just drive. He cannot stop him. He drives to the basket. He's gonna pile his way through, throw an elbow, drive in. He's pretty much unstoppable. Don't get me wrong, he does have flaws to his game and everything, but man, he's just fantastic. Did you see anything from Zion tonight that I didn't sum up just now? Because he was incredible, man.
I mean, just straight up dominance once again. Like you said, like I mean, I've seen a lot of people like even when he came into the league, like the first person they would compare him to is LeBron. But realistically, it's like if you think about it, like it's more like a Charles Barkley. You know what I mean? Like, and just like he's really efficient inside as well. You know, for a player of his size, I think actually, I was trying to pull up, yeah. So just true shooting percentage. Yeah, I know he doesn't qualify yet because he hasn't played enough games because he's still young, but only Rudy Gobert, DeAndre Jordan, and Artis Gilmore are higher all time in like true shooting percentage. Most
Damn.
of those guys basically just work around the rim. I think Artis Gilmore shot some mid range shots, but you know Zion also shoots the three occasionally. And the other thing about Zion is that like he's also like 6'6". You know, maybe like 6'5" realistically, because I know sometimes they exaggerate heights. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like a guy that small height wise that could like finish above like the Giants, essentially better than anyone else in NBA history, or score efficiently better than anyone else, like you know, at a small forward size or shorter or something like that. Um, you know, that definitely deserves credit. I know he had like 5 turnovers today, but I think it should also be noted he had 9 assists. I mean, that's
Yeah,
usually
right.
that's pretty
That's why I
good for
brought up the
Zion.
assists, man. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty good. And when he was on the court, they did outscore the Suns tonight. I know a lot of you can't really say that about many people other than him and like Trey Murphy. Yeah, I mean, there's not really many like Devontae Graham. So yeah, I mean, he was like you said, he is an all-star. I mentioned this to you a week or two ago. I said he needs to start getting asserted into the MVP discussion.
Yep.
But overall, I
Absolutely.
mean, outside of that, I kind of think this is just a bad loss for the Pelicans. Like they just lost back to back to the Jazz.
Yep. I was
You
reading
know,
some stuff about that before the game.
the Jazz who they've been struggling lately, and they were on that big win streak. Like, okay, losing the first game to Utah, that makes sense. You know, you guys were up, they were kind of down, they needed that win. But then you lost the second game to the Jazz as well. And then this game you're up by 20 plus. You know, you gotta close that out. I know they're on the road, but it's like on a road trip, but you gotta close out this game. And they simply didn't. Like they almost let I mean, again, like we talked about Paul and Okogie, but if we really face it, like it was almost a one-man wrecking crew that took him out in Devin Booker.
Right.
So that's just bad, especially considering like the animosity that was built up in the last two matchups, and you know how both of them, the Pelicans won, and you know it seemed like, oh, this is a rivalry that you know they're starting to like kind of get an edge or some degree. Like this was a huge moment for them. You know, and coming into the night, I expected the Suns to win anyways. But like when they're up 20, I'm like, oh, like, Pelicans are gonna do this. But no, they kind of let it slip away. So, yeah.
Real quick, Danger asked this question. We don't have to spend too much time on this if you don't want to, but he said, and I can pull up the clip as well. He said, "What did you guys think about Zion's foot grab call? Like clearly reached for both of his ankles." Let me just pull this up real quick. Again, we don't have to spend too much time on it, and I don't really know if this is like a game changer or anything, but it's worth talking about. I kind of react. I made a joke on Twitter saying Zion doing like his best critical, or I said something. Oh, hold on. I said something like Zion. I forgot what I said. I pulled up the Chris Middleton play when he did that, and I said Zion to CP3. But here's the play right here. If you guys are watching the live stream, CP3 turns it over because Zion was scared of Josh Kogi. I'm totally kidding. Yeah. So, and then and also Zion kind of like smacked the floor afterwards, sort of. You can kind of see it there. So maybe he knew what he did was bad, but do you have any thoughts on this?
I mean, I think it's important to think about how this is like a new rule this year. Like, this is the first year that they put this in. Like, there's still a lot. I know it's like 30 games in now, but there's still tons of NBA players that have played like 100 or so games. Like, even before this year, Zion had already played 100 games in his career. And they played without these rules of like the take foul and stuff. So I think in his mind, he probably thought at that moment, like, oh, let me take a foul so I can stop the fast break. But then he thought like, oh, I'm going to get penalized for it as well.
Yep. That's probably why he was like smacking the floor and all that.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. I think personally, Zion's a good guy. Like, I don't think you would try to like intentionally injure someone.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I know it maybe looked like he got him like on the, the shoelaces there, and maybe it did look weird, but I think we also, I mean, let's not try and like, shelf the fact. Let's not try and shelf the fact either too that Chris Paul loves to exaggerate calls too. I mean, come on. Like, there's no way that he made Chris Paul jump that high out and to try and avoid it. Like, I don't know. You could see it from both sides. I will say though, I think if it was switched around and if that was Zion with the ball and Chris Paul reaching at his ankles, people would have been reacting differently.
That's why I'm saying, I'm like, I don't want to like stir up this Pelicans Suns rival. There's too much drama between us already. But and don't get me wrong, it could have been dangerous. I will say that, but I'm sure Zion knows. I'm sure this won't be an issue in a week or two. It's not. I mean, again, we're not going to see this team until the playoffs next year, or this year, which is crazy, by the way, because there's so much basketball left to be played.
It could have been, but I don't think it was with intent. I don't think, no matter who it was, but I mean, I think that is important to know. I know someone said that on Twitter or something, like, about how, like, if Chris Paul was the one grabbing it, that, and I agree with that, like, just because of his history. And I mean, I think that's kind of fair because there's some plays in history you could look back and be like, what was Chris Paul doing? But I mean, that is kind of fair. Like, it would probably be like a different reaction. But I don't think he intended to hurt Chris Paul. To me, it just seemed like something like you kind of forgot the rule was a thing in the instant, so you reached over to foul him, and then obviously it's a transition take.
What? A Suns player getting unnecessary hate? No, impossible. I hope Devin Booker's 58-point performance will sort of cool down the unnecessary hate he's getting.
It probably won't, unfortunately.
It's probably going to feel it even more, but I hope maybe a couple of those haters will chill for a minute.
Just being a realist, it most likely won't.
I don't know. I just thought I would bring that up, though. It's bad, though. Players should stop doing that because, Danger pointed out, the way the way Chris's leg bent going down, landing on the ankle, it's very dangerous. That's really just my opinion. I remember just watching it, but I didn't like freak out or anything. I was like, oh, like, Suns deserve a free throw for that. And that's another reminder that players shouldn't do that. You know what I mean? Because we saw the Chris Middleton thing, which is why I made that stupid joke on Twitter. So I just thought I'd get your opinion on that. But real quick, moving on, let's go back to the Pelicans box score real quick. Because from what I know, the past couple of games, I'm not going to lie to you, I didn't watch the highlights or anything, but I just know that the Pelicans weren't playing like the Pelicans that we've seen this season against the Jazz. So, you got Herb Jones, 8 points. I feel like we didn't see much of Jonas Valanciunas tonight. I mean, 12 and 8. He had the 5
You
fouls.
you did in the first, like,
Yeah.
6, 7 minutes. It seemed like everything was him and CJ the first 6, 7
Yeah,
minutes.
right?
And I think maybe part of that is just because like, they probably thought coming in, like, "Oh, we gotta stop Zion," like, just because the
And they have
last 2
no
games he's
DeAndre
dropped
Ayton out
35.
there.
No
Yeah.
DeAndre Ayton, you had
Yeah.
Biyombo in there who's really in the rotation. I feel like he's the 3rd string center because I feel like Landale's been getting more minutes consistently than Biyombo, but, I mean, they did start Biyombo, like, tonight, and I don't know if they started him last game. I didn't really watch
I
much of the
think they
game
did.
against
I'm
the
pretty
Clippers,
sure
so,
they did, yeah.
um, I mean, yeah, but either way, it's really like a 3rd string center out there. But yeah.
Yeah. CJ McCollum, like I mentioned, especially in that first half, was unstoppable. I mean, I think he had like 15 at one point early in the first half, ended the game with
Mhm.
27, 8 assists. CJ's playmaking, in my opinion, is something that I've personally always overlooked. He's really great playmaker. He's a great veteran for them, and I'm glad he's part of this Pelicans team. Trey Murphy continues to shine, even though he only had 8 points. I thought he had a pretty good game, 2 blocks and 2 assists. Najee Marshall, for some reason, always seems to play well against us. He had 11 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, three threes. And then Jose Alvarado, 10 points. Dyson Daniels, man, that guy's a good defender out there. I know he's been playing pretty well for them. Any other Pelicans stats you want to focus on here? I can pull up the team stats if you want me to, but any thoughts on
Well,
the Pelicans?
I just think, like, I know you mentioned, like, for CJ, like, 'cause as a playmaker, maybe it's a little underrated, but I just feel like he's too much, like he's either the best player on the court or the worst player on the court, like, down the stretch of games, and tonight, you saw he was the worst player on the court down the stretch.
He
I
cooled
know
down, man.
he had 24 points in the first half, and then the
Yep.
first play of the second half, he made a 3. He didn't score the last 23 minutes of the game.
That's what I was saying. I was like, I feel like after that, we didn't like see much out of
He
him.
he missed his last 5 shots, his last 2 threes. He had 2 assists after that point, but he also had 2 turnovers. So I know for the game, he had, like, 8 assists and 6 so he had, like, a 6-1 in the first half. Then in
Right.
the second half, you had a 2-2. You had 3 points. Really, it almost felt like you had no points because, like I said, it was the first play, the first, like, 30 seconds. Like, it just wasn't good, and he was a -13. They were getting killed. I think honestly, like, he was killing them the most of anyone down there, but that happens a lot. I mean, you saw it sometimes, like, with Dame. I mean, do you remember that playoff game where Dame set a record of threes, and CJ steps on the sideline, and then he starts taking some of the late game shots, and he couldn't make anything. I think he airball one. Like,
Right.
you've seen this several times, especially even this year. Like, CJ hasn't been himself this year, and that's why it's been impressive the Pelicans have been this good.
Right.
So, I think personally, like, he's gotta figure it out more consistently to do at least be a true point guard, which they're asking him to do, or, be the guy that can take him home down the stretch, but, I mean, Zion was the one who was taking him home down the stretch, even though, Booker had it going so much in the second half, like, would you believe me if I said he didn't have the most points of anyone in the fourth quarter? 'Cause Zion had 18, and he went 7 of 7
Because Zion
from the
started off the game slowly, if I remember correctly, too.
and I think they were fine with it. The Pelicans were
Yeah.
fine with that. Just
Right.
because they realized, like, the Suns, like, they were focused in
Yep.
more so on Zion, and you saw Valanciunas had, like, 10 points early, and then CJ, like I said, he was going off, but then when it mattered most, everyone kinda fumbled apart. Another thing with CJ is, like, I think he made, like, the dumbest play I've ever seen, like, on a jump ball. Like, I don't know if you saw that, like, with 2 minutes left, like, the jump ball, and he won it, and he just tipped it right to you guys. I'm like, "What are you doing?" But no, it was bad. And then, Larry Nance missed his clutch free throws. Uh, we've seen that before with some of these guys on this team, like Dyson Daniels, who, in my opinion, might be the most overrated rookie, right now, but that's,
I
talk for
think he's
another day.
pretty good. I'm
I
just
th I
saying.
I I think he's overrated. I
That's
he
why
just
you're
look
on this show, man, so you and I can debate about this stuff.
he just always looks, like, scared out there, like, fragile. He doesn't do anything defensively hardly, even though I know that people, like, praise his versatility and his size and everything, but I don't know. I don't see it, like, and I don't know, I've been proven wrong before. I mean, I've said, like, I didn't think Shea could ever be an all-star, and even though he hasn't yet, like, looks pretty good for his chances this season. But I don't know.
Zion's secret weapon, Big Macs.
That
Hey, he's
nah,
gotten into a little bit of better shape, but he's,
I don't know. Did you see him in pregame or whatever? Like he was wearing his warm up suit and he looked like he maybe put on a few pounds since the start of the season. And I'm not to disrespect him because I know he doesn't want to be disrespected that way,
right.
but I don't know. I said to my dad, he's like the anti-Harden. Like Harden gains weight and he plays worse. Zion gains weight, it like helps him.
See, this is what I was kind of talking about earlier. From the games the Suns have played this season, they need a second shooter that can consistently make buckets. That's kind of why I made that whole like Dame Lillard, CJ McCollum. I'm forgetting all these great duos in our league right now. I'm forgetting all these examples, but when
Steph and
Booker can
Clay,
find, yeah, Stephen Clay. Well, I
Dame
mean,
and Anthony Simons now. They're
yeah,
both
Damon
taking 10
Anthony
threes a game.
Simons, and what other great duos out there?
Donovan
John
Mitchell and
Morant and
Darius
Desmond
Garland.
Bain. Yeah, yeah, stuff like that. So,
Well,
and the sky
Donovan
will be the
Mitchell
limit.
and whoever else has shown up that night. Not to disrespect Darius Garland, but whatever.
I just thought I'd pull up that comment real quick. So we're just looking at the stats here. Pelicans shot 57% tonight. Suns shot 47%. Suns hit 15 threes. Pelicans with their 14. We already talked about the free throws earlier. Wow, a really low rebounding game, 36-35.
Imagine losing a game you shoot 58% from the field and 47% from three. That's
dude, what have I
crazy.
told you on this show so many times? I'm like, if you shoot over 50%, like or 55% or higher, you're probably gonna win the game. I was wrong tonight.
I
That's
think
insane, dude.
the turnovers are probably the thing. I mean, even though it's
How many
assists were kind of close,
turnovers?
it
Oh
was
yeah.
15-8.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge. And I know I forget. I think it was like there was a stat where they said it in the game. I think it was like the last 7 Pelicans turnovers resulted in like 11 points for the Suns,
Right.
like just there. And I think that was after they got like 8 turnovers in the game or something like that.
They had more points off turnovers as well, which is another crazy thing. 25 out of the 16.
Yeah.
25 out of the 8 Suns turnovers. Math is
Yeah.
hard. But yeah, I don't know. I just thought I'd pull up the numbers there, seeing if I'm missing anything. 27 Pelicans assists on 58% shooting. And they lost. Didn't they blow the 24-point lead or something like that? Dude, this is what I've had to learn this over the years, that we're going to look at numbers like this and it's not going to make any sense to me. I'm learning that basketball is just a strange sport because you can bring up everything we talked about tonight and the other team will still win. You know what I mean? It's crazy, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else in terms of this game that you want to talk about? Any other thoughts, takeaways, anything you want to address?
I mean, I will say, even though he also kind of didn't play great, like I don't know if you saw that shot by Najee Marshall where he shot like a fadeaway 3 that banked in. Like I was like, dude, like that was terrible. Like, how did that even go in?
There was oh, sorry to cut you off. I was gonna
No,
say
you're
there was
good.
one Trey Murphy 3 from like I forgot where he shot it from, but I thought at that point the game was gonna be over. I don't know why that just popped in my head just now, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It was just a nice 3. He was wide open and he hit the 3, and I was like, yep, that's the game. And we were already down pretty big at that point.
I wonder if well, I don't know. I mean, like the Suns didn't really do this like last year and like that led to their elimination. But like, I wonder if this year like you're gonna see the Suns as more like a comeback team more consistently. Like
I hope so.
you've seen it a few times now where they've been down big and then they just go on like this superhero run.
Dude,
And
we
then
saw that
they
a
just
lot last year, but we
yeah.
haven't seen it much this year. That's the problem.
You might like I know it's not like see, this is like what was like people were saying like with the Clippers, their first year, like they got like Kawhi and George together, like they held it against them for what happened in the playoffs that year, and then it carried over kind of to the playoffs. Like I wonder if like I know that first part didn't really affect the Suns last year, but like if they can carry this kind of play into the playoffs, like it's gonna make it hard for like younger, inexperienced teams to continue pushing. They might think they have the game won, like a Pelicans team or like a Grizzlies team who I know they
Right.
won a playoff series last year, but they really haven't gotten a huge taste of stuff like that. Or I'm just trying to think other like if the Kings were to make it or the Jazz or something like that, like I don't know, that could benefit them maybe.
I read an article on Bright Side of the Sun that pretty much the article was maybe the Suns struggling right now is a good thing. And pretty much the article compared it to the Boston Celtics. Just remember how bad they started off last year? And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden, it wasn't like after All-Star break, they just started winning games, got to the playoffs, made
Yeah.
the finals and all that.
Yeah.
So
I
maybe we'll
think
see some clutch Suns, as we call them, throughout the rest of the season.
I mean, I'm not denying that. I just think that's kind of an anomaly, like where the Celtics. I mean, they started the year under 500, like halfway through. Like
They're
I
pretty
can't,
bad to start, man, from what I remember.
I can't think of another time a team has in the first 41 games been under 500, and then they made the finals even, unless
Right?
it was like 40 years ago when Um, like back in the day where a majority of the teams like were actually hanging right around 500. I think like a Moses Malone Rockets team or something like that was around there and they made the finals, but like something like way long ago.
Didn't like the
Um,
Knicks do that or something where when they were like the 8th seed and they made the finals? Remember
that
that?
that's another one too, but
Yeah.
I mean, I guess
You're right though. Like we don't even remember.
they didn't have that like in mid-season turnaround, and also I think that was also a lockout year.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, yeah, I feel like that's a little bit of an anomaly. I'm not saying the Suns can't like be that team by the end of the year, but I think like to expect a team that you know, I mean, what is the Sun? The Suns are what now? Like 18-11 or something, or 18-12.
Yeah, 18 and 12, yeah.
So, I mean, they would need to be like 20 and 21 to be in that position, which they won't be. But I
Right.
mean, like, even then, like, that seems like, to be there and then like just take over and win like 35 of the last 40 games. Like, you probably won't see that again if not for like a very long time, unless like a superstar player came back mid season at the right time, which, I mean, the Suns, they're not missing any superstars right now. I mean, unless you're really fond of like Cam Johnson, who's been missing like most of the season. So I don't know.
I was as you were finishing up there, I was just checking if all the games have been played tonight, and they have, which means the
Mhm.
standings have been updated. So in a minute here, we can look at the standings. So any final thoughts before we move on, man, or do you think you've pretty much said everything you wanted to say? Any final thoughts on this game? Don't worry, we're not going anywhere, guys. We're just you know Suns Pelicans recap.
Um, I don't think so. No, I don't think I have anything else.
Devin Booker's a superstar. Josh Okogie
Yeah,
deserves his own video, and Chris Paul had a really good game. And the
and Dyson
Pelicans
Daniels is the worst rookie in the league.
and
No.
the Pelicans statistically had really good numbers tonight, besides their turnovers and fouls, but they still somehow lost and blew a 24-point lead. That's pretty much summary of the game. Oh yeah, and
and
Zion
if they
is unstoppable,
won, they could have been the first seed again. So
right?
tough for
Yeah, and
them.
they've
But,
lost 3 in a row.
mhm.
That's got to be noticeable, man.
Yeah.
I even joked on Twitter, like, because they lost back to back. I was like, oh, the Pelicans are beatable, because it didn't seem like they lost many games. Now they've lost 3 straight.
Who do they play next to? I wonder. They play the Bucks.
Oh,
Ooh, good luck.
jeez.
I mean, they got the Spurs after that, so maybe they should get a win then, but it's tough.
I was taking some notes just for like reference and everything. Like coming into this game, they were like 18-9. They average 117 points per game, fifth in the league, 48.5% from the field every game. I was just looking at some notes just in case, but I think
I
those 2
mean,
Jazz losses kind of exposed, not really exposed them, but showed that they
yeah.
have been struggling. That any team can lose on any night. So I don't know.
To be fair, like even though they have a 3-game losing streak, it is a luxury to still know you're 7-3 in the last 10 games.
Right. And I just mentioned they're
yeah.
they're 18-10 now. So
Yeah. So I mean, they're
Pelicans,
still well 18-11, but they're still the
18,
second seed.
yeah.
So I mean, yeah.
And then someone asked earlier, and I feel like I've praised the Pelicans enough in past live streams. Are the Pelicans contenders or not? I think so. I'm not saying they're going to win the championship. So. I feel like we've talked about this a lot, but they're contenders in my opinion.
I mean, the West looks wide open. I mean, I've told you many times. I think like everyone 100% by playoffs. I would probably bet on the Clippers, but I mean, obviously, like there's so much question marks right now. You know what I mean?
Right. Real question, Geek, are you gonna buy the Suns soon? Yes, you'll be seeing my bid very soon. So real quick, Super Mario. So what we're gonna do is we are going to talk about a controversial, not really controversial. We're gonna talk about a Ja Morant situation that happened. We're gonna look at the NBA standings. So guys in the chat, if you have any questions, get them in now. Any NBA questions, any Suns questions, get them in right now. Do me a favor, you guys, destroy that like button, share the stream while you're at it. So let's talk about this kind of crazy situation with Ja Morant. I don't know if you guys saw this. I can probably pull up the Twitter feed, and maybe we can find a video on it. But Ja Morant was ejected, and I thought NBA TV did a good job of summing up. Apparently, he was just talking to a hardcore fan of Ja Morant, by the way. This wasn't like an opposing team's fan. This was like a Memphis Grizzlies fan. Apparently, he was talking to him. Now, again, I don't really know if he did say anything to the ref. I don't know if that's been verified or confirmed. But all of a sudden, the ref just double teed him up and ejected him from the game. And he literally was like, dude, what did I say? Is like, I was talking to the fan. And then one thing I love about Ja Morant here is he literally pointed at the fan, said, like, I love you, like, you're good, this isn't your fault. And then Ja Morant's dad, like, found that fan, was FaceTiming with Ja, and I guess he got to talk to her for a few minutes or whatever. And Ja Morant went right to Twitter afterwards and was retweeting all these tweets. So pretty much the refs continue to take L's. And again, I will say maybe he did say something, but it didn't really seem like it. Do you have any thoughts on this ejection? Because this just makes the refs look worse. The only thing I'll say before you answer is I hope Adam Silver and company looks into this. Just saying, because that was ridiculous.
Well, I was even going to add to this. So I found the pool report for after the game, like where they kind of touched on this. So it says the pool report interview was conducted by Joe Musato, the Oklahoman, whatever from the Oklahoman.
Yeah.
With crew chief John Goebel following tonight's Grizzlies at Thunder game. And so it talks about like the questions asked and Goebel's response. And it says for the first question, can you explain why Ja Morant was assessed the first technical foul during the second quarter? And then Goebel says Morant was assessed a technical foul for use of profanity directed at an official. So, I mean, obviously they didn't show that, but you kind of assumed like it was something. And then the next question, can you explain why Ja Morant was assessed the second technical foul during the second quarter? And then Goebel said Morant was assessed his second technical foul for making a comment questioning the integrity of the officials. And then the next question says, it appears Morant was speaking to a fan when he was assessed his second technical foul. Was the technical foul assessed as a result of conversation or actions toward the crowd? And Goebel says no. So I don't know what, like.
So maybe the media got it twisted.
maybe they twisted it. Like, I don't know, but it didn't really look like, I don't know. I don't know if he was exactly talking to them from like what they were just showing, but they didn't show much of it on NBA TV.
Yeah, all I really saw was Ja Morant just pointing to the fans saying, "You're good, it's not your fault."
And I mean, like, you would only know it probably if you were watching the game, which, let's be honest, a Thunder game with no Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, like,
by the way,
most
they
people,
lost. The Grizzlies lost.
I know it was crazy. Shout out Isaiah Joe though.
Right.
But
former Sixer.
yeah. But I mean, a game like that, like, first of all, not many people are going to attend. Second of all, when there's other games like the Cavs and the Suns and the Mavericks and, the Pelicans are all on TV, nobody's really going to pay much attention to it. So That's
Right.
why it was kind of surprising. Like, I kind of pulled up the stats midway through, and I'm like, well, Ja's kind of struggling. And then I found out later, like, he got ejected. But I don't know. I think maybe he was talking. See, I don't the part here where it says, "Was the technical foul assessed as a result of conversation or actions toward the crowd?" Where it says conversation toward the crowd, that's what confuses me because I was
Yeah.
thinking maybe he said something about, like he was making sarcastic remarks about the referees to the fans, and I'm like, "Okay, maybe that's why they actually, like, ejected him or something like that," but it says the guy said no, like, so
Right.
it must not have been. He must have said something straight up to him or, something was wrong. I mean, I don't know if you saw the other day where they gave Luka a technical and he was yelling at Dwight Powell,
Right.
like, I think sometimes they just get it wrong or something, but we don't know the full thing. Like, you probably have to see, like, if someone was actually recording when it happened, there was a better angle, that'd probably be
Yeah,
better,
exactly. I'm sure
but
we'll probably see more from this in a
it's
little bit.
I think that's probably that instance would be like a 1 in 10 scenario that or
Yeah.
1 in 20 scenario that someone's actually recording prior to that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't
That's
know.
kind of where I said, I'm like, he might have said something. And then you were right. You went to the pool report, and,
Mhm,
there is two sides to every story. I'm not saying Ja Morant isn't like, totally innocent in the situation, but I still think it's a bad look for the refs. I will say that. Um, I don't know. I just thought I'd get your opinion on this. I do think it was cool though of Ja Morant to show love to that fan, especially Ja Morant's dad, like we're watching right now.
mhm.
Showing FaceTiming and all that, going to Twitter afterwards, showing love to that fan. That's a superstar for you, man. So shout out to Ja Morant.
I think it also could be like I don't know, maybe he was talking with them at first, and then maybe he said something to the ref and
Yeah,
got an
like what
ejection,
happened prior to all this?
and
Maybe he
and
was in
then
the ref's ear.
And then he pawned it off as like, "Oh, no, I was talking to her still."
Right.
Like, and then we don't know because they only show such a short clip, and then he's like, "Well, you're, like, one of the main fans here from Me like, a Memphis fan here, so, like,
Yep.
props to you, like, it's not your fault," or anything like that, like, see, we don't know, like, they didn't show enough on there, and obviously, I wasn't watching the game when it happened, so I don't know.
Shout out to my guy John from the Suns Jam Session podcast. They do great work over there. The original OGs of the Suns post game show. Shout out to you. Says, how about them Suns? Yeah, how about them Suns, man? Yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to get your opinion on that whole John Morant situation.
I mean
Cassidy says, I do not think the Suns want Oubre back. I want Kelly Oubre back. That's all that matters.
I mean, to be honest, I don't think anyone was thinking about not even just especially with no Shea out, but even with him playing. I mean, last time the Grizzlies played the Thunder, didn't they beat them by 73 points
I saw that. That was like
last
yeah,
year? So now I'm
that
thinking
popped
like,
up on my
no
memories.
no wonder no one was watching the game. They probably thought, "This one's over."
He
But no,
said to the fan, I'm not getting any calls, to which the ref took offense.
no, I saw your, quote tweet though, like, you said, like, someone paid, like, that they were
Yeah,
upset because 'cause they're like, "I paid all this money to see Ja play just for them to throw him out for talking with a fan." So, I mean, maybe that's evidence that it was kinda stupid and maybe John Goble was just wrong or lying, like, I don't know. I mean, it says crew chief John Goble, like, was he the one that gave him the technical foul, or was he just, like, the head official? Maybe he was not even the one who gave him like,
right, right.
that's the question I would wanna know for if I'm someone who either didn't see the play or if I'm, like, not obviously, I didn't see it happen live, I didn't get, like, enough evidence to see it, like, if it was one of the other ones, like, you wouldn't even know, for sure, you know what I mean? Or
Right.
I don't know.
Like I said, I think we're gonna probably hear more about this. I'm not saying it's gonna be like a whole thing, but maybe
Yeah.
tomorrow we'll see some things on it. Um, we'll have to see, man. And also, this that even though the refs suck and everything, even just one little word can get you tossed. So maybe this was building for John Morant, and the ref just had enough and ejected him, man. So I don't know.
Mm.
Suns OG, Geek, show us you're the Valley tattoo you got across your chest, man. Represent. You know what? The Suns are always in my heart. I was just saying that the Suns Jam Session are the original OGs of the post game live show. You know what I mean? Because the live streams here have always been my Achilles heel. On the exception of this year, I've done a lot of post game live shows thanks to you, who's been here to join me and everything. Um, Guys, I'm a person who is fond of the basketball team of the National Basketball Association, the Suns, says Bill. People are still hating on D Book, says Robert. Super Mario, what are you hiding under your beanies?
I actually did recently get a haircut.
Let's go.
So that's a good observation right there.
Looks better than my hair because that's why I'm always wearing hats.
Yeah, it was getting too long in the back. Had to get it cut, but yeah.
So before we get out of here, guys, if you want to, Super Mario, we'll just do a real quick NBA standings watch. So if you guys got any final questions, I remember last time we went live, Danger asked us a really great question about Chris Paul. That was both of our favorite segments from that one show that we did. So just real quick, let me just pull it up here. All the games have been played today, by the way. So all these standings are updated. We'll pull that up. So get your guys' final questions, thoughts, funny comments in because you guys are hilarious in the chat. So here it is. Let me make sure we're good on my end. Yes, we are. Let's start with the Eastern Conference. Boston Celtics 22-8, 6-4 in their last 10. Just saying. You mentioned this, or you talked about the Bucks earlier, who do play the Pelicans next. 21-8. They're rolling right now. Cavs have been playing better, 20-11. Brooklyn Nets. I feel like nobody. Am I crazy to say no one's talking about the Brooklyn Nets? Am I crazy?
In their last 10 games, they're 9-1. That's better than anybody in the NBA. And also, like, it's weird because you think like of box office names in the NBA, like Kevin Durant's like top 3, you know, like whether or not like you think about like, oh, he's a top 3 player in the league right now. Like personally for me, I feel like you could make that argument even if he's the best in the world. But when you think of like the NBA, like you're gonna think of names like LeBron or Curry or Durant or something like that. Why isn't he getting more love in the MVP talk? Especially because of like the Kyrie thing and Ben Simmons hasn't been the same. Like, I don't know. It feels weirdly like biased against him. I feel like he deserves more credit though. This is arguably one of, if not his best season.
Right.
And
he's how
his
old?
16th
34,
year.
35?
Yeah.
Exactly. And yeah, Kevin Durant's amazing, man. And again, props to the Brooklyn Nets, man. All that controversy, I can't talk. All that trouble and everything they were having earlier in the season, especially during their off season and all that. And it seems, as of right now, knock on wood, they've kind of put that behind them. And again, I kind of meant that as a compliment. Like, no one's talking about the Brooklyn Nets, but they're playing well, man. Philadelphia has been playing well as well. I follow, Romp 2.0, my guy Philly Take with RB. I've been kind of tuned in with the Sixers all year. They've been playing a lot better. Joel Embiid is playing at an MVP level. New York Knicks, 16-13, 6 in a row. They've been playing better. What's going on in New York? Julius Randle, if you will.
They have played a lot of easy teams, I will say. I think they got a win over the Cavs, which is good, although they did already lose one of them. But yeah, I do have this thing here pulled up of my guy D Rose. I know it has nothing to do with the Knicks, but I just figured I'd talk about it because it was tweeted a few hours ago when because they played the Bulls the other night, and I know we'll get to them. And he played in the second game of the two. Obviously, they're trying to go like another direction, which I think is, even then, like there's still some players like him, Fournier, Cam Reddish that could help out a lot of teams that are pretty much getting shut down. But he's one of them that they're trying to do. And he was asked about the ovation. And he said, "It was amazing. I tried to hold it in. We did a lot here. To come here and see all the love and receive all the love that we got, it was unreal." And I think the thing about that too is that, like, if you notice his word choice, he said he's not one of those guys that said I did a lot here. Like, he says we.
Yeah.
So for anyone that wants to question or whatever, if this guy is a Hall of Famer, I don't care. Like, stand up the accolades, just that I don't care. he's a Hall of Famer, and that's just my little mini rant of the day. So
that's okay, man. That's why we're doing this NBA standings watch and everything. Give me a quick second here. I got to let my dogs out real quick. So give me 1 second. I also got to grab that package that we're going to unbox here in a minute. So give me a minute. If you want to talk to the fans, go ahead. Just give me 1 second here.
Yeah. Sorry, guys, had to go on that rant.
My bad.
But it's facts. But it's facts.
What'd you say?
No. I said sorry, guys. Had to go on that rant, but it's facts. D Rose is a Hall of Famer. I don't care what anyone says. Oh yeah, Kyrie hit his first career buzzer beater. How's it not happened before?
I know. I was like, what? I was like, is that real?
I don't think it is his first. I'm pretty 99.9% sure he had one with Cleveland, like as a rookie or something. I don't know. I was pretty certain he did, but either way, like I don't know. I thought his buzzer beater the other day was pretty big. Nobody really talked about it. No, you're good. I was just saying. I think his buzzer beater the other day was pretty huge. No one really talked about it. They hardly even showed it. It felt like, but that's the league for you. You're good.
I said this to you, I think last show. If you would have told me that the Pacers would have 15 wins this early in the season,
if you would have told me the Pacers would be better than the Bulls right now, jeez.
11-17 for your Bulls, man. We don't have to spend too much time on it because I'm sure you could go on like a 20-30 minute rant like I would if the Suns were in the Bulls situation. Do you have any just quick thoughts on the Bulls? Like, is the season over? Should you guys tank for Wemby? What do you think? Just real quick. We don't have to spend too much. We can go to the Western Conference after, but
yes and yes. See, like it's bad because like I thought it was already. I'm like thinking after we were like what 10 and 15. I'm like, how much worse can it get? It's gotten worse over the last few games because we lost the worst one of the Hawks because we can't make free throws or take high quality shots. Then we lose to the Knicks. The first game at home on national TV is an embarrassment. It's like, okay, that's fine. We'll win the next one. Then we get blown out by like 30 at home. It almost feels like there's no home court edge anymore. Like it's just pathetic. But yeah, before we go to the West, could I talk about one more team in the East?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
The Orlando Magic. 5 straight wins.
How dare I disrespect the Magic like that?
5 straight wins after they were playing, the worst basketball in the league, it felt like.
Yep.
I mean, Paolo Banchero is the real deal. Yep. I mean, if people aren't aware of it now, Bol is a most improved player of the year candidate. Franz Wagner is playing well. Actually, his brother Mo has also been playing great. And I'm going to say this right now. I'm going to say it again because so many people have disrespected him. So many people have counted him out. I've not been one of them. I've been in like the 99.9th percentile of supporters for him. But Markelle Fultz is playing great basketball. And he's shooting great from 3. Currently at 42% from 3. I know he's not taking many, but there's still that. He's a true point guard. And I think personally, like, he's just a winner. You're going to see it for many years to come. He's still young. He's like 24 years old. But he's a winning caliber player. That's crazy
to think about, too. He's still super young.
To all the people that say, oh, he's a bust or whatever, give him a little bit more time. He's still young, and he's going to prove a lot of people wrong because he's a winner, and he's going to show it in the league.
Yep.
That's all I have to say about that.
And I could be wrong. I thought I saw that Cole Anthony's coming off the bench, but he's been playing well for them. That's cool.
He's also been pretty good. I would like to see now I feel like the rotation, like, it's like where does Gary Harris fit in? Like, I'd like to see Gary Harris on a real team. Like, no offense to the Magic, they will be a real team soon, but get Gary Harris like on like the Bucks or
Terrence
like
Ross
the Nets
too,
or something.
maybe.
Terrence Ross too, yeah. Like that could help a lot of teams.
And look, man, I don't want to totally overhype the Magic here, but 10 wins.
No, let's be real here. They're not making the playoffs.
I'm just saying. I mean, you go on a little bit of a winning streak. Let's say like the Raptors drop. We could probably spend a whole podcast on the Raptors. By the way, they start falling off. The Hawks, maybe they sneak in there. I'm just joking, but
they're not making the playoffs. But in a few years, they're gonna be really good. And
I've been saying that for a long time too. I'm like, watch out for the Magic in a few years, man.
And to answer a burner account's question, did the Magic have the Bulls pick? So that's why I said we need
Ooh,
to go all in for one or the other. We
yeah,
either need to go all in to win right now or all in to tank right now because their pick, if it's not a top 4 pick, then if it's a top 4 pick, the Bulls get it. If it's lower than that, the Magic get it. So that's why I'm saying like we need a hard tank for Wemby.
right.
Yeah, danger 369. Tank for Wemby getting mad traction. Yeah, facts. I feel like honestly too, if everyone says, draft lottery's rigged and all this stuff, like why wouldn't they want to rig it for Chicago? That's like the third biggest market
Right,
in the NBA behind what, New York and LA.
right.
Do it. Like go for it.
Western Conference. We mentioned the Grizzlies lost tonight, but they've obviously been playing better. 19-10, 8-2 in their
Mhm.
last 10.
Not a minute with their three best players yet
That's
altogether.
that's what I was, that's what I was gonna say. I'm like, I know they've kind of been having injuries and everything. I didn't know, by the way, that Jaren Jackson Jr. is leading the league in blocks. At least last time I
Mhm,
checked, he is. I know he's been in and out with injuries, but he's a really good player for them. I don't even
mhm.
remember the last time Desmond Bain played, but he's absolutely solid.
He's an
Um,
all-star. I mean, he won't make it this year because he's missed too
he
many
was
games,
All
but
Star worthy before he
he
went
he
out. I
he
agree.
is an all-star. He just
Right.
won't get it this year. But yeah.
They're a really good team. I love their culture. I love their young guys. I love just everything they got going on.
Mhm.
They're a great team. We've talked all about the Pelicans. They're a
Yeah.
contender, even though they're struggling. Well, not really struggling, but 3 in a row. Nuggets. I feel like I need to pay more attention to the Nuggets.
I don't know. I don't Nuggets the Nuggets just don't strike me in that way. Like I trust Jokic
Right.
and I kind of trust Jamal Murray come playoff time. I don't the rest of that team, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like I don't trust Aaron Gordon. I don't trust a lot of their other depth players on that team. So, I mean, DeAndre Jordan definitely isn't it off the bench. Bruce Brown is hit or miss for a game. KCP, you never know which version you're gonna get.
Like
So
on
I don't
paper,
know.
they got better, but I've heard Aaron Gordon's playing pretty well, though.
He isn't.
Was maybe.
I mean, like maybe statistically he's not bad, but he blows so many easy
Sorry,
plays and
my
he takes
dog
those
wants
bad
out. Keep
shots.
talking.
No, you're good. He just takes so many bad shots and everything. A burner account. The draft rigged. It was pure coincidence that the Pelicans landed Zion after AD left
Ugh,
them.
my bad. Sorry about
Absolutely
that.
coincidental. Adam Silver is demanding me to tell you this. Yeah, it's just a random coincidence that all of a sudden a hometown Chicago hero is in the draft as the top projected pick, and we all of a sudden the Chicago Bulls with the first overall pick, or that the Cavs get the top pick 3 of the 4 years that LeBron is in Miami. And the only other year was when the Pelicans got it to save the New Orleans team. Go figure.
Burner account. If you really have access to Adam Silver, tell him to have the Suns get a correct owner this time and to trade for trade Jay Crowder already.
And the
Tell
trade
Adam
Derrick
Silver.
Rose to a contender.
Yes.
And the fire
And
Billy Donovan. Okay, that's all.
and to finally trade John Collins, so we can stop hearing about the John Collins trade rumors that we hear every single year. Let's talk about the Sacramento Kings real quick. 16-12. Do you think they're legit? Like, I'm not saying they're going to like do damage in the playoffs, but like they would probably be a tough out, at least in the first round. Like they're playing good. You got to give them props, man.
I mean,
Fifth in the West.
I'm just looking at the teams like in the top 6 right now. I think every team besides them is going to be more in that mix. And then you also got the Clippers and you got the Warriors, and of course you can't really count on Dallas with Luka. So
Right.
my prediction is they'll be in the play-in, which even that's a step up for most recent Kings years, and they could be a playoff team. They very well could make it, but I don't think they'll end the season 5th. But this is probably the best Kings season of basketball.
In years.
Yeah, I mean, like the only other one I can think of was I think 2019 when they finished like the 9 seed in the West, right? That was like with Fox and Heald and those guys and stuff. But yeah, I don't know.
I know you saw the Steph Curry shoulder injury. As somebody that suffered 2 injuries myself, that sucks. I really felt for him right there. But
That's
again, I feel
tough
like you
for
can't
them.
really count out the Warriors, because they're the Warriors. You know what I mean?
They're in a bad stretch right now though,
Yeah, they
because
are.
they got they got 3 more games against Eastern Conference teams in the play-in or playoff picture,
Jeez.
all on the road too, and they're already 2 games under 500.
And look at their road record, 2-14.
Yeah,
That's terrible.
and then I think they host Portland, who they just got more guys back as well.
17-13, the Blazers right now.
On Christmas Day, he's not going to be there. They play the Grizzlies. They're number 1 in the
They play
West.
the
Like
Suns soon.
they play the Suns soon. Like
Uh-huh.
they have a lot of tough games, and it's going to be tough. Like I wouldn't be surprised. Well, there's so much of the season left, but if they went on a massive losing streak right now and they find themselves like maybe 6 games under the play-in spot,
Think
like
they'll wave the white flag.
they might. I don't know. I wouldn't count it out, but I don't think that's. I think realistically, like if they did do that, they still would make the play-in. They'd probably get into the playoffs unless maybe they were like the 10 seed or something because they can't win road games. But yeah.
I was going to say the most alarming thing, really, and I've heard their defense is pretty bad too, but I guess the most alarming thing is their road record. I mean, look, let's be real. A lot of the road records in the West aren't great, but I mean, I think it's Dallas 3-10, and then who's that at the bottom? The Rockets 3-13.
Yeah, you wouldn't believe that the
So-
Warriors, who literally for the last several years over their dynasty years, they were the road like dogs. You know what I mean? They're the worst road record in the league right now.
Yep, that's 2-14, man. Even if they won like 3 straight, like 3 on the road straight, they'd still be 5-14. That's terrible.
Yeah, and they wouldn't be better than any team above them in road record, like in the West, except Dallas.
And look, we all know Stephen Curry is the greatest shooter of all time, but let me tell you, man, shoulder injuries suck. So even if he does come back in a few weeks, he may not be 100%. Just saying, like
he could go through that slump he went through last year, like around this time. So
I mean, man, like even for me just to do this, like sometimes hurts. And I mean, it does feel good at times because it's like rehab and everything and physical therapy, but yikes. And that shoulder injury did not look good. He grabbed it immediately. He went to the bench and
I'm surprised it's only a few weeks, honestly.
Right?
Like I thought like after I saw that, I'm like, he might miss like at least a month, maybe 2 months. Like, I don't know. But I mean, hopefully for them, like they can get him back soon. And that hopefully they can at least like, win a couple games in that stretch. Like you wouldn't want them to. I mean, if they lose like 8 or 9 games straight, like then, like I said, they might end up like
wave the white. I can't talk.
Yeah,
wave the white flag.
Yes. But yeah, I don't know.
Any other teams you want to talk about before we open up this little care package and then wrap up the show?
I mean, the Rockets have been decent lately, especially like at home. They actually haven't been bad.
They have some noticeable wins, 2 of them over the Suns, by the way.
I think Jabari Smith Jr. is finally starting to like come into his own a little bit. I know on the recent Rookie of the Year ladder, he bumped up to 3rd because it's been Paolo and Mathurin all year long. But I mean, he's starting to come into his own. He's actually, shooting really good for stretch big for the most part. I think he's probably one of the best like 3-level scorers in the recent draft. So I don't know.
Right.
I mean, you got him, you got KPJ, you got Jalen Green, obviously my guy Sengun.
Dude, Alfred Sengun is so good, man. He's one of those players that I feel like maybe casual fans don't really know of, but like if you are in tune with basketball, you should watch some Alfred Sengun. He's a stud, man. I hope he has a great career. I'm not the biggest draft expert, but everything I saw and read about Alfred Sengun coming into the draft, I was like, he's probably going to be a really good player. I mean, it was like he won like the Turkish MVP or something like that. And again, just everything I saw from him, he's a great player, man. Rockets got a bright future.
KJ Martin, and then also Tari Eason too, but also I don't know if you saw today. I didn't see much of the game just because like it was kind of a blowout and stuff. But Boban played today, so
wow,
there's always that.
Did you see that ESPN or whatever commercial with him and the broadcaster? Yeah. I'm like, that's what Boban's got to do after he retires.
Yeah, I mean, I'd watch it. I'd listen.
Same here. I meant to grab it earlier, but give me a second here, you guys. I'm going to grab this little care package that my friend Lindsay sent me. We're going to do that real quick. We don't have to spend too much time on it. and then we'll wrap up the show. So Super Mario, I'm giving the show to you just real quick. Let me just pull. Oops, I don't know what I'm doing. I really don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, you're gonna go solo for a minute. So talk about whatever for like less than 30 seconds.
Sounds good. He's leaving me all alone a lot of times in the stream. It's okay. Let's see some of the comments. Seeing you guys are saying like, when do you think Jay gets moved? Need to move Jay already. Yeah, it'll happen. I mean, like, trade deadline's in 2 months. He's on. I mean, it's going to happen. You know what I mean? Literally
Hey,
kills
I'm
me
back.
knowing he's still getting paid. Yeah, everyone was basically. I was just reading comments. Everyone was just talking about like trade Jay Crowder.
Oh yeah, and stop
Yeah,
paying Jay Crowder, which I
it'll happen.
kind of.
I mean, yeah, honestly, they should probably like look into that, like, or at least like a, what is the thing, like almost like a, like what the Celtics did with like Gallinari or whatever, like they use like a disabled player exception or something. Like, dude, if you're not playing, you should be able to use like an exception of money, like to get
Exactly.
someone for that price or
I hope
something.
the NBA looks into that as well. I think
That's
James
what I
Jones
feel.
had a comment on that or like an excuse. I forgot what it was, but I was like, come on, dude. And I know he's not really. I mean, is he in charge of that? I don't know.
It's
But
Jay Crowder. I feel like
yeah.
he shouldn't be in charge of anything
I
except
mean,
the
dude, if
closed
you and I
games.
don't show up for work, we're not getting paid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. But let's move on, man. We don't have to spend too much time on this. My friend Lindsay was nice enough to send me a care package. For those of you who don't know, spoiler alert, big shocker, I do not live in Phoenix right now. I know that's crazy. I lived there for years, but you know, real life happens. And she was nice enough to send me a big box full of stuff. So I'm going to go solo here for a minute, Super Mario. Whoops, that's not solo. There, that's solo. So yeah, I got this package here, and we're gonna open it up. I mean, it's already been opened because I posted it on my social media, which, by the way, follow me on Instagram. I got this awesome Phoenix Suns picture right here. Kind of got a cool little retro vibe to it. Chris Paul, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson. Oh, I miss Cam Johnson, man. I even tweeted that out during the game. I miss Cam Johnson. You guys know me. I'm a big Chucky fanboy. This was one of the biggest surprises in the care package. Got the Bride of Chucky Funko Pop right there with his awesome scarred up look. You guys know me. I love Chucky. And then I also got the Tiffany doll to go along with it, voiced by the legendary Jennifer Tilly, who is an incredible actress. And even at the age of like 60 something, Jennifer Tilly still killing it in the acting game. By the way, she's a great poker player, which I didn't know that. She's actually like a really famous, great poker player. So that was a nice little surprise right there from Lindsay. And then she sent me this towel right here. The only thing about this towel, I mean, I absolutely love it. Don't get me wrong. But Lindsay did mention this. She said, this towel is from the infamous, terrible, historically bad Game 7. That was the only thing. I cried when she said that, but I didn't cry when she told me or sent me this 30th anniversary of the Sunburst logo. Beautiful towel. I'm going to have to hang these up on the wall somewhere. And yeah, shout out to Lindsay. She also sent me a scheduled magnet that I forgot to grab because it's been on the refrigerator so I can look at it every day. So I wanted to shout out Lindsay. Seriously, thank you for sending that to me. You didn't have to do that to anybody. I've had a few friends in the past that have sent me some Sun stuff. Just the fact that you're willing to do that for me and take your time and money to do that for me is really appreciated. So if you guys ever want to send me something, you guys, let me know. I'll be in contact with you guys. Maybe I'll open up a P.O. box one day. We'll see. So if you guys want to send me some awesome Sun stuff, I'll shout you out. I'll take a picture, tag you on social media. But again, thank you so much for that.
I need someone to send me some vintage Bulls stuff like that to remind me that, hey, even though times suck now, they weren't always this bad. There were some good times in there. But,
I would trade Jay Crowder for a G League ball boy and some floral wax. I remember I tweeted something out one time. I was like, the Suns will trade anything for Jay Crowder right now. And someone said anything, and in the back of my head, I was like, yeah, because at least we'd be getting something for Jay Crowder. You know what I mean? Like,
honestly, like, why isn't there a thing in play like in the NBA where you could just send a player to a team? Like, if they have the cap space, like, all right,
right? Like
we're
in
trading
2K.
Jay Crowder. Like, we just don't want anything. We don't even need cash or a pick or anything. Like, just get him off the team. That's like what the Sixers probably were hoping, like with the Ben Simmons thing, honestly,
Dude,
like
right?
for a while there. But yeah.
Shout out to Lindsay who's in the chat right now. What did she say? Yes, because you have to use both pops in the collection. Yeah, you do. Chucky and Tiffany. You're welcome, Brandon. Seriously, Lindsay, thank you so much for your generosity. Can anyone send me some used socks, please? I'm desperate. This is a burner account. A burner, I got you, man. I got plenty of socks you can use.
I can send you 2 socks, and we'll give you guys Kobe White and Patrick Williams because they're terrible. How's that?
You know what, man? I'll just end it at this. Kind of feel bad for Patrick Williams, not gonna lie to you.
I don't.
So much potential. So much potential.
I just don't. I mean, yeah, I get what you mean. The Bulls, I just feel like it's kind of a toxic environment in some way. You saw it with
Yeah.
Markkanen, you saw it with Wendell Carter, but at the same time, like he just doesn't look good. Like it seems like what he's doing to try and assert himself, he's not playing how he should. He seems like he's scared at all times. A lot of our young guys do really. So I don't know.
Super Mario, any final thoughts? Anything you want to plug? Anything you want to talk about? What do you got going on for the holidays, man?
Well, first of all, I want to say that this is the comment of the day. I need boxing gloves for Landry Shamet's face. Yeah, I can vouch for that. I feel the same way. Um, that's probably so messed up. No, I don't know. I'm just over the holidays, just doing the regular stuff, hanging with family on Christmas, working some. Um, I'm going to the Bears Bills game on Christmas
Wow,
Eve. It's supposed to be like 10 degrees, so
dude,
it's gonna be
awesome.
so cold. And then I might be going to an NBA game, not a Bulls game because they frustrate me. But
Bulls. I'm not going to their games.
I might be going to the Pacers Clippers game on New Year's Eve.
Nice.
So yeah.
Maybe the Clippers will actually play Kawhi Leonard and Paul George that game, maybe.
Well, I did check. It's not a back-to-back on either end, so they should both be playing if they're healthy, which I mean, Kawhi played tonight. We didn't even talk about Kawhi. He had game of the season for him so far this year.
I know when he plays well, but
and Paul George, I think it was a day-to-day thing, so he should be available then too. But yeah, other than that, I mean, you guys can find me at my channel. I know Geek usually puts in the description anyways, but if you haven't seen it already, Super Mario Hoops 24 on basically everything. But yeah, I mean, thanks again for having me on. Thought it was a good talk, and yeah, go Suns.
Of course, man. I couldn't do these live streams without you, man, especially with how many I've done this year. It really helps just having somebody here. You know what I mean? You and I always have great back and forths, even when we disagree about Dyson Daniels and stuff like that. But really, just again, the fact that you're here is amazing. You and I have had great conversations and looking forward to having you on more often, maybe throughout winter break, because you and I are pretty much off for the same amount of time. Planning on doing more live shows, so you're welcome on anytime you want to vent about the Bulls or talk about like the Orlando Magic.
All right, I'll be back tomorrow.
Right, you'll be on every day on this channel.
I'll be on every day then if that's the case.
But appreciate you being here, man, and thank you to everybody that stuck around, especially after we were done talking about the Suns and everything. And Lindsay, thank you for being here. Thank you for the awesome package. You guys are all awesome. Like I said, you guys continue to watch. I'm going to continue to upload. It's that simple. I mean, I love the Phoenix Suns. I love content creating. And I don't know where I'd be without you guys. We're almost at 7,000 subscribers, by the way, which is pretty amazing. This year, like 2 years ago, I think I hit 5,000. So we're on the road to 10K, and you guys are all amazing people. So last comment here before we get out of here. Geek, are we going to have homework this winter break? You know what? I'm feeling generous, and no homework. Unless you can find a good Jay Crowder trade. That's your homework right there. A legit Jay Crowder trade where both sides win.
You got to study Devin Booker's 58-point game.
Yeah.
Every possession, every point, every assist, every rebound, even how many fouls
step.
every breath of air.
Exactly.
Every dribble.
Just like good old NBA Twitter loves to do, overanalyze everything. Just like Suns fans like to do, including myself. So,
and you need to write a 10-page report about your findings and have it done by the end of winter break.
And now you know why I don't go to college.
Anyways, cite at least 12 sources too.
Oh my God. Well, you guys know, if you want a source for Phoenix Suns basketball, I'm your guy. And if you want to hear all other things NBA, subscribe to Super Mario Hoops 24. I'll make sure to link your channel. You're doing great content over there. I really enjoyed you and Romp's episode recently. So go check out my guy, Super Mario Hoops 24. And thank you guys so much for watching. I'm out of here. Happy holidays, everybody. Merry Christmas. God bless you guys, and go Suns.